Welcome into the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, local12.com, digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Broering. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Maislin. We got a lot to get to. The Reds are clinging to life. The Bengals sneak by in the season opener and have the home opener coming up. We got our gambling segment to talk some college football and probably so much more. So, Rick, let's get started.
Yeah, let's get right into it with the Bengals. Skinny, they beat the Browns 17-16 in Cleveland. From an optics standpoint, it didn't look great for Zach Taylor overall, but they got the win, which was the most important thing here. So let's start with this. What was the bigger takeaway for you? How poorly the offense played, or how surprisingly well the defense held up?
I'll go the defense because I thought that was a bigger question mark. And here's why I'm not going to – I know everybody's probably jumping over the edge of the offense. I get it. It was a horrible performance. The opening drive was great. But the last three games in Cleveland, and maybe this is just to tip the cap to Cleveland because they've had Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett and others. Their defense, when healthy, has been a pretty good unit for them. Last three games in Cleveland are the following: 141 yards, 211 yards in a game they won last year thanks to a Charlie Jones kickoff return, and then 142 yards, 211 yards, 141 yards. That probably tells me more about Cleveland. When you look at the Bengals offense in the macro, right? Like, we all agree this is one of the best offenses in the NFL, and it's proven itself out, except the last 3 years in Cleveland. So maybe it's a bad matchup for them.
I think that's fair. Don't you think there's like some pride in there, like for Zach Taylor and this Bengals offensive staff of like, we're not going to let that happen against Cleveland again? Because it's not like Cleveland shuts down every team they play. I agree that maybe it's a bad matchup for the Bengals for whatever reason, but you almost wonder, Skinny, if they're paying too much attention to Myles Garrett when they play.
I was literally going to say that. I think that's all they talk about from Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator. I respect a ton and think he's really good at it. And I think he's going to be in line if the Bengals have the year everybody hopes they have to be a head coach. To Zach. And to who else I think gets in his head? I think he gets in Joe Burrow's head. I think he's so wary of him to either get it out of his hand quickly. I don't even know where there was a scramble. It was not a sack because Joe gained a couple of yards, but Myles made the tackle. Yeah. Where Joe literally, he felt them coming, probably could hear him coming, and like covered up the football, like, don't strip it from me, please, and went down. I think he gets in his head. I think the other part is Denzel Ward is just a nightmare matchup for Jamar Chase. And so when he takes Jamar Chase out of the mix, and that allows them to maybe cloud other places, I just don't know if there's a lot of places to go with the football for them.
Yeah, it's tough because I think everything you're saying is logical there. I can get behind all of that. And yet there's still the part of me that wants to say, goodness gracious, week one against the Browns, can't get the ball to Jamar Chase, can't throw the ball downfield, can't score at all. Like, it feels so frustrating to be talking about these same exact things that we've talked about the last few years, and everything this year was supposed to be like, get started quicker, and they did get the win. So I don't want to gloss over that. I don't want to act like the sky is falling. Everything's fine, especially because if you're a Bengals fan, you've seen this offense improve. You don't have to freak out about this performance because the offense is really good and they'll probably figure it out. But it's just frustrating to be sitting in this spot talking about these things.
And that's what I wrote after the game of don't apologize for the ugly win. Kind of hang your hat on. That was a pretty good defensive performance overall. And the fact you've seen this offense for the most part in NFL seasons within the Joe Burrow era have great success. It just seems to be this team gets in their head a little bit. And I think they probably play the game differently. I will say this, and I asked Zach Taylor this on Monday, and he kind of shoved it aside. And he's probably not wrong. And it probably came off as me picking on a guy. But the first drive of the game, Chase Brown carried 7 times for 29 yards. That was a drive they went down and scored a touchdown. And then Lucas Patrick got hurt and Dalton Reisner came in. And I thought Dalton played fine. Don't get me wrong. But after that, Chase Brown carried 14 times for 14 yards. I mean, did Lucas Patrick's injury affect the run game? I asked Zach that, and I think he thought I was probably pointing out that, it's Dalton's fault. And he said, there are other issues in the run game. And there probably were. I mean, don't forget, Chase Brown took a couple of big losses in that last drive, basically just to run out the clock. So I get some of that. But they were pretty effective when Lucas Patrick was in there at right guard.
Yeah, and he's now on the IR, right? With the calf injury, he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. So, I mean, that could set them back somewhat. And again, you get back into why'd you wait so long to go out and get a Dalton Reisner? Maybe he would have been more prepared. Maybe it'd be more seamless there. Or maybe Lucas Patrick wouldn't even be your starter there.
I give that guy a lot of credit. I'm glad Zach tipped his cap to him Monday when he was asked about Dalton because, as Zach pointed, he had been in 2 fully padded practices. He said, I wasn't worried so much about him from the head up because he told us that the day he came into town, was the kind of they had their little mini break as players. They practiced on a Thursday, and then they weren't coming back until that Labor Day, so kind of a long weekend for them. Dalton said, yeah, these guys deserve it. They've been through camp and all that. He goes, me, I'm going to have my head stuck in my playbook all weekend. And I think it showed. I mean, I don't want to undersell the job he did. That's why I don't feel fair in pointing out the run game sucked when Patrick went out and he went in, because I thought he held his own, especially for a guy that, he had to play about 3/4 of football with only 2 practices under his belt. That's a hell of an effort.
Right. And you didn't really notice him. I mean, you could point out the run game statistics, which were a noticeable drop off, and maybe that was part of it. But in terms of like him getting beat or giving up sacks or like just being a revolving door there in the offensive line, that wasn't really the case, I don't think.
No, right. I agree with you there. 2 of the sacks that Myles Garrett had came against Orlando Brown, and another one, Variety Kid he came on, looked like a delayed blitz, and nobody picked him up. And so, I thought Dalton more than held his own.
Yeah. I thought Al Golden has to be the biggest winner from this game. I mean, you come in and let's face it, all preseason we were sitting there going, okay, you're keeping it vanilla, but is this defense actually going to be any better? And Skinny, at least through week 1, granted, you're facing an old Joe Flacco and a Browns offense that probably isn't going to be very good this year, but it's the NFL, man. You don't apologize for playing well. And I thought the defense looked very solid.
Yeah. Listen, they gave up a couple of long drives, an almost 10-minute drive, and then that drive to start the second half. And it almost was like his decision, I don't know if this will be the case in every game, was you're going to have to kill us by 1,000 paper cuts because eventually you're going to make an error. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to commit a penalty or commit a turnover. And they did. They committed 2 turnovers, one that set up what turned out to be the game-winning field goal, and the other one that sealed the win. And, while you'd like to be a little more aggressive, especially against an older quarterback, I think his whole thing was you're not going to make big plays on us. I'm going to trust my corners, and I'll be honest with you, Cam Taylor-Britt did not play well. In fact, Al told us on Monday when we talked to him that Cam literally came to him before they went to their defensive unit meeting and said, yeah, there's some stuff I got to clean up. I got you. And so, if you're going to do that, you're going to get beat on those crossers. And it felt like every time Cleveland needed one on 3rd and 4, they got an easy crosser. They found an easy route for a completion. But again, they only scored 16 points. And yeah, it was because of a missed extra point, because a kid missed a field goal. But I thought overall, for a defense that we were all scratching our head about, played great, especially against a run. 24 carries, 49 yards. And I think we shouldn't discount, B.J. Hill did not play in the preseason. Trey Hendrickson did not play in the preseason. You're missing 2 of your better linemen too. So I thought it did acquit itself well. Now it's going to obviously face way better offenses than Cleveland as the season rolls along, but what a nice confidence boost to start.
A couple of guys that we talked about a lot in the preseason leading up to this. Logan Wilson was a name that we were questioning, like, has he lost a step? Is he going to be the same guy? He looked great, I thought. That looked so like prime time Logan Wilson to me.
I agree. And maybe the preseason where he looked slow was trying to nurse Demetrius Knight along, right? I mean, that could have been the case of him making sure the kid's going to the right. I mean, remember when they collided? And, that was probably Demetrius Knight going the wrong way because Logan Wilson's done it before. Demetrius had not. And I thought Demetrius had a great game. I mean, his athleticism showed up on a lot of plays.
Yeah, Demetrius Knight, the rookie linebacker, had 10 tackles. I thought he looked really good in his first game. The other rookie that it's funny because Shamar Stewart, I thought looked really good at defensive end. He was plowing through guys, using his power, using his athleticism. I mean, he wasn't trying to be like run around you and beat you with his speed. Right. He was bull rushing guys, but then you felt the quickness and the speed once he got into you. It felt like he never got blown off the ball. He was pushing offensive linemen back. But then it's also notable, I think, Skinny, that he didn't record a statistic. I know all of his PFF numbers are going to be great and all the win rush rate and all that stuff's great, but no tackles, no sacks. That was kind of his whole thing in college, right? Yeah,
I mean, his pass rush win rate was almost identical to Myles Garrett in that game. His PFF grade in pass rush was almost identical to Myles Garrett in that game. But yeah, that was, to your point, that was kind of the college thing of, okay, all sounds good. I mean, he was noticeable, there's no doubt. But he did, yeah. To your point, I was even stunned. So I did a thing off of Zach's press conference Monday, like 5 takeaways, and one of them was him talking about the rookies. And so I want to look up what Shamar did because I had that stat that I just gave out there to throw into the piece. And I went and I looked. I don't see his name. Wait, he didn't record a single stat. And you're right, he didn't. He didn't record a single stat.
Yeah, it's weird because it did feel like he impacted the game. I mean, there was the time where he kind of like bumped into Flacco as he was throwing and the ball went flailing.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's definitely a pressure where he impacted the play. There was another play where he set the edge against the run and then kind of dove into the running back as he was going down, but someone else got credit for the tackle, rightfully so. So it's not like he wasn't around the ball and not impacting plays. But again, it's like, I guess the next step is, okay, you're showing us that strength and athleticism that you can bully even these NFL veterans. I mean, the guy who's going against is like an 11-year vet.
Yeah.
I don't think he's any good, but he's an 11-year vet. He looked great against him, but you got to get home now, right? You got to be able to get a piece of that quarterback or make that tackle as the guy's running by you. So I guess we'll just wait and see if that next step comes. But it was a great debut, I think.
I thought so too. And, I thought that they kind of leaned into the rotation up front. I think Trey played the most snaps of any of the linemen. I think he played on 75% of the defensive snaps. They rotated all the tackles through. And I thought that showed up in the second half, especially the fourth quarter. I thought the defensive line looked really fresh and we were able to shut them down. I mean, the last 5 full drives, technically the last 6 drives, I mean, you got to count those last couple of plays. They don't score a point. Now, granted, the kid missed a field goal on one of those, but you also turned them over on downs, forced a punt, came up with an interception, ended the game. I mean, I thought that group looked really fresh. I thought the line rotation was really, really good.
The Jags are up next in Cincinnati. They beat the Panthers 26-10 last weekend. Skinny, any more thoughts on the Bengals, this upcoming matchup? Obviously, we'll get to that in our pick'em a little bit more. But what else you got on the Bengals?
I will say this because everybody knows it's an ugly win, right? So we were driving back from Cleveland, and it's funny. We got in the car. Jay Morrison, Paul Dana, James Rapine, and me. We got in the car like literally as the Sunday night game kicked off. It literally got us all the way to the Lebanon exit on I-71.
That's perfect.
That's a perfect, yeah. And we all parked our cars off the Kings Mills exit, so we were like 5 minutes away from getting our car. So you couldn't have timed it up any more perfect. But after the game ended, we're kind of just sitting there for a second. I said, "You think you want the 41-40 pretty loss or the 17-16 ugly win?" Right? I mean, Baltimore looked great. I mean, well, I shouldn't say look because I didn't see it, but Baltimore sounded great. Statistically on offense, they did everything great. But you know what they did? Lost the game.
They looked fantastic.
I mean,
really, Skinny, it looked like Buffalo and Baltimore were playing a different sport than the Bengals and the Browns.
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch. The offense was so high level. They couldn't stop each other, but Baltimore lost the game. And it's amazing how different that feels. That 1-0 versus 0-1, even though, we've seen the last few years and how you can come back from those deficits and stuff, but it's significant that the Bengals found a way to get this one. It really is.
Yep.
All right, let's switch gears here to college football. Kentucky's really the only game to talk about. I mean, UC beat Bowling Green 34-20. Ohio State beat Grambling State 70-0. We'll mention those games, but let's start with the Wildcats as they lose 30-23 at home to Ole Miss. This was a better result than I was expecting, quite honestly, Skinny. It is their 8th consecutive SEC loss at home, which is just seems almost impossible.
It's another in so many of a long line of disappointing Kentucky losses. I can't say the game would have been over, but Kentucky had a chance up 2 scores, 4th down. Ole Miss goes for it in Kentucky territory. You make the stop there. Where does that game go? Why does it always feel like in Kentucky football history, it's one stop or one play away that they never seem to be able to make?
Yeah, and it's tough because, the defense has a lot of pressure on it right now with the offense struggling to move the ball at all through the passing game. I mean, the running game looks pretty good. Both running backs that they added, Dowdle and McGowan. Yeah, they both look great to start the season. I mean, those were the definite hits for the Wildcats, but the passing game is a disaster right now. And so that puts a lot of pressure on the defense, but you're right. I mean, make the play, man. Make that one stop when it matters most, and you win a huge game right there. Now, they say this week they're preparing 2 quarterbacks for this game. Zach Calzada left with a shoulder injury to his throwing shoulder, but he came back to practice. I guess they expect him to be good for this week, but they're also preparing Cutter Boley. Who do you want to see him go with at this point?
I think you give Cutter, at the very least, if Zach Calzada starts, Cutter Boley gets some series. It's Eastern Michigan. You're going to roll them however you want to roll them. You need to get Cutter Boley ready. He's got some snaps under his belt. He took some snaps last week, had some snaps last season, but Zach Calzada just looks terrible to me. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's just not there, man. It's just not happening.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he has a high IQ or whatever else, but he's not talented enough to play in the SEC.
So I was watching the first half on my laptop on the drive up, and got to my room to watch the end of that first half disaster, which was just a debacle in itself. And the line from Sean McDonough says, they're coming back for the second. He goes, Kentucky will get the ball to start the second half unless they choose to defer. I'm like, that's kind of how they are in a nutshell.
Yeah, honestly, that might have been their choice had you given them that option.
Right, no, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Struggle so much. And of course, offensive coordinator Bush Hamdan, which perfect name for a Kentucky offensive coordinator who's struggling. Bush Hamdan just sounds so Kentucky. He is already getting a little bothered by the pressure. I saw his press conference this week, and he was annoyed by a couple questions and was a little more fiery than he's been in the past, saying he thinks they can have a damn good offense. Yeah. We'll see. I don't see that with their quarterback situation right now.
Yeah, and the only thing I think this week does for you is if you do choose to go with Cutter because Zach's not ready, or you make the choice just because you want to see somebody more productive. I wouldn't mind that to get him some confidence under his belt heading into the stretch of SEC games they got coming up.
I think that's the decision you have to make because you've already seen. Let's say he gets better and a little bit more comfortable. Talking about Calzada, he's not going to win you SEC games.
I don't think he
just flat out. Yeah. Go to Boley in case there's a little more upside there. But like you said, get him the confidence right now against Eastern Michigan so he doesn't start out in the middle of some other SEC game where you're behind by 14 points and he's getting his head taken off.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting if Zach plays and doesn't play well and Cutter comes in and does. I mean, you actually have a bye week between Eastern Michigan and the next game at South Carolina. Maybe that gives you the time to make that change. Maybe that's their thought process of let me play both quarterbacks, and then we've got 2 weeks to work whoever it is back in. If it's Zach, ramp him back up. If it's I think the decision at this point has to be give Cutter Boley a shot because from what I understand, they were pretty even for a chunk of camp. They went with a more experienced guy. I mean, Calzada's got a bunch of some starts in the SEC under his belt as well. So I get that, but it's just the optics of it right now. It's awful.
Well, and the other part of this that's funny, we talk about in the pros all the time. Yeah, we don't talk about it in college, but somebody paid that cat some money to come here. And maybe he made more than Cutter Boley. And so it's kind of tough to look at your donors that you asked for all that money and said, well, actually, I know we gave that guy, I'm throwing out a figure. I have no idea what he made, but let's say 700,000 or $1 million or whatever. And we're going to bench him for this other guy. That now becomes part of the equation at some
I would
point.
say if I'm a donor providing that kind of significant money, you know what I want more than anything else?
A win.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's ultimately where it all leads. And so it's not driving every decision, but it does start to factor in a little bit of like, hey, we paid this guy a lot of money. We got to give him a chance, I think. All right, Cincinnati beat Bowling Green 34-20. It was 31-10 going into the fourth, so that score is a little bit misleading. It was pretty much a blowout throughout the game. Sorsby threw for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns on 17 of 24. He was also the leading rusher for Cincinnati in this game. 7 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Goes back to what I was talking about last week. My eye is on Brennan Sorsby rushing overs the rest of the year. I think they're going to have to rely on him doing that, and I think he's kind of got the mindset to take off now when things don't look good. I'm just going to run and use my size and athleticism.
Maybe you just give them a one read option. You got one read and take off.
Yeah. Ohio State beat Grambling State 70-0. Julian Sand threw for 306 yards on 18 of 19 passing. Only one incompletion, 4 touchdowns.
How about the resurgence of one Bo Jackson?
I was just going to get to that. Sand had an interception, but the Bo Jackson is a name that people have been talking about, obviously, because of the name Bo Jackson is awesome, even though there's no connection. But he got his chance finally. They've been talking about how talented this dude is. He didn't play week 1. He comes out in this one, carries 9 times for 108 yards and a touchdown. We might have another stud running back in Columbus there, Skinny.
Yes. By the way, back to UC Bowling Green. I heard this. I got to give credit to Tony Pike, who does sideline for UC. I guess Bowling Green has a player, he was a linebacker, I believe, whose middle name is ESPN.
What?
Yes. Look him up. I can't remember what his first and last name are, but I think his middle name, he said his middle name is ESPN.
Gideon ESPN Lamperin.
That's it. So
yeah, linebacker.
As Tony told the story, I guess Dad put it on the birth certificate. Mom never saw it. And the kid, I guess, has embraced it at this point.
His father, a big sports fan, put ESPN on the birth certificate while his mother was out of it after giving birth, despite her initial preference for the name Xavier.
Oh, brother.
He was going to be Xavier.
Yeah, okay.
Now he's ESPN.
Gideon Xavier, that sounds better.
Yeah. How do you choose to go by your actual name? Why don't you just go by ESPN if
Absolutely.
you're that guy?
Lean into that.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather be Gideon or would you rather be ESPN?
And I do wonder how many kids around the country with the last name of Jackson in that era have the first name of Bo.
Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be a handful of Reggie and Bo Jacksons out there, right?
Absolutely.
That is awesome though. Like if we're going to have like a real deal college football star named Bo Jackson.
Yes.
It's pretty funny.
It's awesome.
All right, let's get into our pick'em where you made up your ground quickly. I did a perfect 0-6 last week, Skinny, which is just as difficult as going 6-0, really. So I should be commended for it, I think.
People should have done the Costanza with you. Go the opposite.
That's right. You were 4-2. That brings your total to 6-6. I am now 5-7 overall. So we are back in the race. My favorite bet of the week did cash. Memphis won 38-16 at Georgia State. It was a weird game early, a little tight early, but they pulled away. The Patriots cost you your 5-team teaser. Yeah. You had 4 of the 5 legs. And looking back at it, the Patriots was a weird pick. You had them at what, -2? You moved them to +4?
Yeah, but I mean, plus, I thought they'd win outright, and I was thinking at the very least they lose by a field goal. I'm going to cover that, and obviously I did. There's always one. That's why I love doing it. I did hit a teaser later in the day on myself personally, which was nice. Thanks in part. I needed the Bills back to getting 6.5.
What a crazy cover that was. Yeah. I had a money line, and it was just insane cover to save me. Yeah. Saved my day, really.
So I had a buddy of mine that told me he put 4 digits. I'm not in the 4-digit realm. Or no, I think he was going to win if he didn't put 4. He had a parlay that was going to pay him back 4 digits with Baltimore on the money line. Right late in that, when it got to 8, he hedged it and ended up still making a profit of about $400 or $500.
Oh, nice! Great head call by him.
Yep.
Yeah, I never have the smarts or the intuition to do that, but it can be a nice play. All right, we'll start with. I mean, we don't even have a line for this game, but you can make a prediction if you want. Saturday, 3:30, Northwestern State at Cincinnati. What do you got?
I'm doing public address for this game, and it feels like it's going to be a 4-hour game because they're going to score so many points.
You better warm up those vocal cords. You're going to be using them.
Touchdown, Bearcats! Because there's going to be a lot of them. This team is awful. They were down.
Give me one. It's a 3rd down.
It's 3rd down.
There we go. Nice. You're ready.
So I was flipping through scores as we're on the ride, and I looked and I come to the Minnesota Northwestern State score. And it was 66-0 in the 3rd quarter. I do think a storm came, and I'm serious. I think that game actually, that's kind of where they ended it at 66-0, if I'm not mistaken. Because
that was the final,
Yeah. I won't. There'll be a line on that. So here's go with whatever the score I'm about. I'll go UC 72-0.
72 Northwestern State, nothing. I went 52-0. So there's a pretty big difference there. But.
Yeah, I don't think highly of this UC offense once it gets back into Big 12 play. But this team went 0-12 last year. It's just awful.
It's truly one of those teams that you can name the score against. It's just a matter of what is UC trying to accomplish? What are they working on? Are they trying to get the running game going in certain spots or whatever? So
teams like this are so bad. You try to keep the score down and they turn it over on their own 13 and you got nothing to do other than I'm going to hand it off, and the handoff goes for 13 yards and a touchdown. I mean, it's not even running it up. It's just a matter of they're just that bad.
It'll be that type of game. So it really is a matter of how many turnovers and how greedy is Cincinnati in terms of what they're doing. So whatever. Saturday at 7, we've got Ohio State. We got Ohio at Ohio State. The spread is 31.5. The total is 52.5.
That opened at 34.5, I believe. So it's gone Ohio's favor. I
can't believe it's down. I can't believe it's going down that much.
Well, I mean, listen, West Virginia is probably nothing more than a middle of pack Big 12 team, but they did beat them outright. Rutgers is probably, I think we'd agree, a lower echelon to maybe lower middle of the pack Big 10 team, and they should have beaten them. So they've had 2 good showings.
34-31 there.
I think they hang around. I'm going to go, not hang around to win, but hang around the cover number. I'm going to go Ohio State 34-10.
34, you said?
Yep, 34-10.
All right, OSU 34, Ohio 10. So that is Ohio. It's Ohio and the under.
Yes.
We're on completely opposite sides of this. I'm going Ohio State 47, Ohio 10. So Ohio State in the over for me.
Okay.
Saturday at 7:30, we've got Eastern Michigan at Kentucky. The Wildcats are a 23.5-point favorite. The total is 45.5.
Yeah, this one opened at 25.5 too.
Oh, wow.
I'll go Kentucky because at 25.5 I was going to have Eastern Michigan cover. I'll just keep the score I had in my head already. Kentucky 38-13.
So that is Kentucky covers and the over there, right?
Yep.
We're on the same side of this one, but I think it's going to be a blowout. I think this is a name your score game for Kentucky as well. I'm going 45-7, Kentucky and the over. That brings us to Sunday at 1. We've got the Jaguars at the Bengals. Bengals are a 3.5-point favorite. The total is 49.5. What are you doing with that hook there, Skinny?
I'm keeping it under. I'm going to go Bengals 27-20.
All right, so you got them covering.
Yep.
But under the total.
Under the total.
I like the Bengals to cover as well. I'm going 28-24. I think this is going to be a close one, but I think the offense gets back on track. They cover the number, and I'm going to take the over there. All right. What is your favorite bet of the week?
By the way, I got to give you a lot of credit for sniffing out that obscure Memphis line from last week. That was a good sniff out. I know you said you were sweating early, but you sniffed that out from Jump Street.
I mean, I just saw it as we were preparing. I didn't know anything about either team. I'm just like, that line doesn't make any sense. And I was thinking maybe Memphis has a star player out that I'm not aware of, but it turned out it was just a bogus line. I have no idea why that entered there.
All right, I'm going to go back to the NFL with a 4-team teaser of the following. Dallas, it'll be a 6-point one. Dallas down to basically a pick 'em against the Giants. The Giants are just terrific. The question is, who's the first coach to be fired, Brian Daboll or Mike McDaniel? I mean, it's one of the two of them. Yeah. Miami's a train wreck.
Daboll.
I'm going to take Detroit to bounce back at home. They're laying 5.5, so I take them down to a pick 'em against the Bears. I'm going to take Arizona from 6.5 down to laying 0.5 at home against Carolina. And then I'm going to take the Chiefs, who are a 1.5-point underdog at home to Philly. I'm taking them up to 7.5. I don't know if they win this game, but in Arrowhead, are they losing by more than a touchdown in Arrowhead, even to Philly?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So there we go.
All right, so there's your teaser. I think you'll like mine. You may not agree with it, but you'll like what I'm saying here. I'm going to Kentucky over 34.5. Team total over 34.5.
Oh, by themselves. Okay.
Eastern Michigan has given up 52 points to Texas State to start the season and 28 points to LIU in a loss, 28-23 last week.
I'm not sure I wouldn't take either of their quarterbacks over South Carolina.
Fair point, but
I don't even know who they are.
Eastern Michigan giving up those points. It's an SEC school that is pissed off and is 0-2. Like, Kentucky's going to pile up some points here.
This is also coming off of a loss with another SEC game on the horizon. I've watched this movie. I like your bet. I do like the bet. I mean, your logic behind it is completely logical.
But by the way, I said 0-2. I meant 1-1. Obviously, they beat Toledo. Right. I didn't mean to say they were 0-2. But yeah, Kentucky over 34.5 is what I'm going with. I know I'm going to hate that when Kentucky's got 12 points in the second quarter of this game and they're running the ball. But
I had them for 38 on my thing, and you know what I think of this offense. Right.
I just 34.5 seems so low against a team that can't beat anyone, really.
Yeah, you'll pop a couple of big runs. You'll probably have a couple of turnovers. That's a good play. I like that.
I think the running backs can get you 35.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
All right, let's switch gears here to the Reds. With 17 games left, they are still 3 games back of the final wildcard spot held by the Mets. The Giants are also a game ahead of them in that 4th spot. They are a game over 500 again at 73-72. Skinny, I want to talk about the Marty Brenamman statue, quite honestly, but do you have any thoughts on the actual Reds before we get there?
No, the season of frustration. So as we tape this, as you said, they're 4 back of the wild card. Can you just imagine if they had held on to the 3-0 lead or found a way to get the ghost runner home and maybe more on Monday? And with the bases loaded, nobody out in a 5-4 game on Friday, won that game. I'm not even asking them to pull off miracles. I'm asking them just to execute in executable situations. You'd only be 2 back. You feel like you have a legit 4 back's a lot. It's a lot to make up for this team that can't go on long winning streaks. And why can't it go on long winning streaks? Because it can't do the little things. And I thought this team was supposed to do the little things better, and they don't. I mean, they couldn't even get the guy over from second base on Monday night, man.
just to be clear, they are 3 games back right now.
Oh,
The Wild
3,
but still. But to your point, yeah, I mean, imagine
back.
if you're 1 or 2.
Yeah, correct. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's who they are. I mean, honestly, they're not out of it yet. I guess you could still pull it off, but it just feels like they're going to be in this situation the whole year because it's what we talked about last season and all off season, and they never really did anything to change it. So they're a team with good pitching, that's scrappy, that'll battle you. They're going to upset some people, some other teams that are in the race right now. They're going to win a couple of games against those teams, and it's going to be upsetting for those teams. But the Reds just can't win when it matters, can't win consistently enough, can't score enough on offense. They are what they are. We'll do more of that in the next couple of weeks as we get close to the end of the season.
Yeah, I got one more here for you. What in the hell has happened to Ellie De La Cruz in the power numbers?
It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it, dude falling off like this, especially someone so talented.
He's going to wind up with a pretty good season, especially for a guy his age. I mean, in playing a position that's usually, not a huge offensive position, it can be. I mean, he's going to score over 100 runs. He's going to probably drive in close to 90. He needs one more homer to hit 20. He doesn't run anymore. He doesn't hit home runs anymore. It has to be injury related that he's playing through.
I mean, I know everyone talked about the fatigue a lot, but it does seem like there's something more there with Ellie. Skinny, what did you think of the Marty Brenamman statue that was unveiled this week?
I'm happy for him. I think he deserved it. I think we're getting a little statue happy there at Great American Ballpark. I mean, it feels like listen, they do a lot of nice things, but it feels like they lean on the past so much that they don't care enough about the present of what's going on in the field. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. So someone said that when they were bringing out the UDF 50th anniversary or whatever it is with the big red machine guys that they've got, the cups, they're doing that at UDF right now. It's like classic Reds. They're in the middle of a playoff hunt, struggling. And it's like, let's run out the big red machine again to get everyone fired up, which, I mean, I get it. You're going to celebrate your past and you're going to celebrate the best players in your history, but it does feel like we are stuck in a different decade with this team and constantly celebrating them.
I mean, I was Marty in my lifetime. If I said probably the 5 most iconic voices from my childhood were Marty Brenamman, Kaywood Ledford, Kurt Gowdy, who did games on NBC, Dick Enberg, and not of my childhood, I guess. Brent Musburger was my childhood too. Those are the 5 iconic guys I listened to growing up that I know a lot of people don't like Brent Musburger, but again, when it's the voice of your childhood, it's hard. Like, you are looking live. I mean, that's how
Musburger.
That's how my Sunday always started as a kid.
Musburger to me felt like big games.
Yes,
that's absolutely. And maybe it's just because I associated that voice with big games as a kid, but yeah, I always felt that he was someone that was like iconic. With Marty, I was thinking about this. You will probably have a very different opinion because you lived through those great Reds teams. For me, when I was thinking about does he deserve statue? Should you put a statue of a broadcaster up? I think Marty is bigger than any Reds player.
I agree.
During my time.
No, I agree.
I mean, the only argument I think I can make would be Griffey and Votto. Griffey more so because who he is overall in the sport. Votto because he had, in theory, maybe a Hall of Fame career with the Reds. He was very good for an extended period of time. But Votto, I don't think he would pass up Marty for me in terms of like being iconic or being the first thing I think about with the Reds or even being as famous or well liked. I mean, Marty is huge around this area.
Yeah, I would say probably a generation a little bit younger than you probably would put Votto there instead of Marty, because if they listened to games, they were probably in that he's a curmudgeon, he's always critical. For me, as somebody who went into this business, this line of work, just the technical broadcasting of a Marty Brenamman. And I grew up in an era when the only games on TV were when they were on road trips. So, my idea of the Reds back then was listening to Marty and Joe on the radio. And Marty always painted that picture for me, just like Kaywood Ledford did. Like, they were so descriptively good that you're like, I get people don't like when the broadcaster's critical of the home team. They want you to be the homer. I don't think that was ever in his DNA to do that. But he also, in big moments, rose to the occasion of being not a homer, but calling it with enthusiasm. And that I think that's the thing for me that I respect the heck out of him as a broadcaster. I think he's just outstanding.
Yeah, I think there were definitely moments down the stretch where it felt like, okay, you're a little too jaded, a little too critical at times, and that took away from some of the fun. But it's also the team he was covering. Like, the Reds hadn't, they were struggling. They were bad for a lot of years, and they're frustrating. So I think he did a good job of giving the fans a voice in those moments when it was frustrating to watch, that he was putting that out there on the air. I mean, I'd much rather listen to that than the stuff we're hearing on TV now, where it's always over the top optimism and everything's great. So
speaking of which, I was broadcasting a high school football game on Friday, so I didn't hear it. But my friend called me the next day and said Sadak and he was so over the top enthusiastic when they loaded the bases, and then he sounded like he was the saddest guy in the world when they couldn't get that run home.
That's how it sounds when you're that over the top with your emotion. It's just not for me. It's not for me. I'm sure some people like it, but I don't enjoy it. The point is, Marty, to me, is, like you said, technically incredible. I thought he did a good job of balancing the two, of being like, hey, it's fun when it's fun, and when it's not so fun, I'll tell you that too. But just from a standpoint of like, do you give a broadcaster a statue and all of that? I'm in the boat of with Marty, absolutely. I think he's bigger than any player in my lifetime. The one guy I left out before was Barry Larkin. Maybe you put Barry Larkin in a group there with Votto and Griffey of guys that would be iconic, or I think of when I think of Reds baseball as someone my age who's closing in on 40 now. But Marty's much bigger than those names even, I think.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Around here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And again, I mean, dude's in the Hall of Fame. I think the statue was warranted.
Yeah, the statues always look terrible. They're kind of like bobbleheads. They don't do a very good job with these things of making them look like the person. I thought Marty's was okay. I mean, that was pretty. It looks like him enough, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of bobbleheads, I wonder what they've done with the CES bobbleheads.
Dude, how about that? How incredible was that?
What did they end up doing? Did they have the bobblehead night anyway?
I don't know. When was it?
Maybe it's still coming up. I just know
I think it's still coming up.
Are you looking this up?
Yeah.
This had to be a canceled promotion. You can't give away a bobblehead for a guy playing in AAA that you couldn't bring up.
What a collector's item if they did, though.
It's a good call. Maybe next time have maybe some more established players be the bobblehead candidates.
Yeah. Christian Encarnacion City Connect was September 6th. It was this Saturday. Did they give them out?
Well, I guess you honor Marty and give out the CES bobblehead. You honor an icon and go, here's a AAA bobblehead, kids.
Yeah, Marty Brenamman oversized commemorative ticket was also part of that promotion. Okay, so
there we go.
There you go. Did anyone get the CES bobblehead tweet? I don't know.
If you're listening to this and you did, please tweet at Rick Broering.
Yeah, send me a picture of the CES bobblehead. I want to know how good that was. Exactly. All right, real quick, ask Skinny anything. This is a perfect Skinny question. What did Skinny think of the Syracuse coach Fran Brown making his team run on the field after winning against UConn?
So I'd heard about that, and then somebody showed it to me, and I'm like, that is so good. So Kelsey Conway played lacrosse in college. She's the one that showed me the video in the press box on Sunday. And I said, did your coach ever make you do that? She goes, no, she was hard on us, but not after a game like that. I said, I did that once after an AAU game, and I did the old. You remember Miracle on Ice, right?
Yes, that's
my favorite iconic scene of on the line. Send them. So they kept my assistant kept sending them, and he did the same thing that the guy did in the movie. He goes, man, enough. I go, again. I said, are we going to take charges? Again.
Of course it was about charges.
On defense? Again. He goes, dude. I go, again. And I'm like, I'm watching him send him, like, good for you, man. I thought it was awesome. Awesome.
I mean, this is just so performative. So performative. I mean, we're in college Division I. People have to move on with their day. And these guys, by the way, these guys are doing like 15-yard jogs, like they're warming up for the game. It's not like anyone's about to puke after this or anything. I don't really get the point, but it was pretty hilarious. I'll give him that.
I mean, you could have made him run steps.
That's what that would have had more of an impact than what they were doing. This was literally a light warm up, but he certainly got his name out there, which is what he wanted, I think.
No doubt about it.
All right, this is a random one. Is Skinny a bumper sticker guy? And if he were to have to put a bumper sticker on his car, what would it say?
Anti-bumper sticker. I think makes it look trashy. I'm totally anti-bumper sticker.
You would have a bumper sticker that says no bumper stickers?
No bumper sticker. By the way, along those lines, driving out of Cleveland on Sunday night, we're at a stoplight. The car next to us had a vanity license plate that simply said self-love.
What's I mean, are they like a pure romance distributor or what?
That's a great question. Self-love.
All right. Shout out to Self Love. What kind of car was it?
It was like a Beamer. It's a nice car.
Oh yeah, they're a pure romance distributor. I guarantee it.
Yeah. No, I just don't understand bumper sticker. Like, if you can read this, you're too close, or dog mom, or no, I don't need those.
Yeah, I love the one that says like however, I don't even know the distance of half marathons, mini marathons, or full marathons, but like when they have like the 26.2 on their, what the hell is that?
The one that always used to get me was the Hilton Head stickers.
Yes. Yeah. Salt Life. Shout out to Jed DeMusi and Salt Life.
Yeah.
He loves that. There are a lot of Salt Life bumper stickers in Cincinnati.
Are you a bumper sticker guy?
Hell no.
Okay. I didn't think so. I just want to make sure.
What's the most annoying thing someone can do in a shared waiting space?
What close talkers really get to me.
This is actually for me. I've got a story about last week. I had to go get my oil changed. They found some other issues. I also had a leak in my tire. They had to replace my tires, a few things going on there. So it was a long wait in the waiting room, right? First hour is great. No one's in there, or one or two other people are in there, but no one's talking. I'm just on my laptop working. About hour and a half, some guy comes in and he's just roaming the room looking for someone to talk, just trying to get someone engaged. So at one point he's whistling. And honestly, God, I wanted to kill him. I think whistling in a shared waiting space is like, you should be shot.
Correct.
At least jail time.
Wow.
And then I knew he's like walking around kind of looking at things and kind of like sort of seeing if anyone's making eye contact or anything. Then finally he just blurts it out to me and three other dudes in the waiting room. Anyone see that NFL game last night? I just keep my head in my laptop, continue to type. And thank God for this hero who was sitting across the room. He goes, "No, I don't have any interest in that stuff. I think they're all overpaid babies."
Oh, wow.
I just gave him that. Shut the conversation down immediately. I was so thankful for that guy.
The guy didn't react to it at all?
He just kind of gave a laugh, was like, "Oh, I understand that. Okay. And kept the conversation going for like another second or two, but it was shut down at that point.
I am kind of with you. Just random talk guy. What's the point?
It's like, come on, man. We all, as much as cell phones and society, whatever, it's been bad for us. Like, the one great thing is when you're in a waiting room like that, having a cell phone where we don't have to annoy each other. We can just sit there and do some work or entertain ourselves or read is so nice to have. Just use your cell phone, man. Like, leave us alone.
I won't call this person's name out, but it's somebody who works on the beat, and it's one of my favorite lines. Happiness is an empty room. Sometimes there's truth to that.
Especially if you're waiting and you're going to be shelling out a couple $1,000s for car repairs. It's like, I'm not in the best mood, bud. I don't want to small talk with you about the weather and the Bengals.
Exactly. Anybody see that NFL game last night? You should have. At that point, you just had to go. The two times the left guard pulled on that 36 counter wide trap, I just didn't think he picked up the right guy. What'd you think?
Yeah. What'd you think about that?
That'll shut
him up. The problem is he'll have a take. I mean, it was the Thursday night game last week. So yeah. Good stuff. All right. That's all we got.
I will answer the one question from last week, though, because we never got to it. We were going to do it.
Oh, yes. This was, sorry, I don't have the video pulled up, but it was basically, a pitcher got pissed off at his catcher, said he was going to throw a breaking ball, then throw a fastball right into his chest. So the catcher drops down and then gets hit in the chest by a fastball.
Yeah. If I was the manager, I'd have come out and yanked him out by his ear. Now, he said it was a pitch comm issue. The reaction of the catcher was clearly he was crossed up. I mean, I might have taken the ball to get, he was going to give the ball back to pitch. I'd have fired that thing as hard as I could.
Shout out to my boy Eric Spencer at one point. He was catching for our Bad News Bears team back in like second or third grade. And he was a little bit competitive back in the day. And we had a terrible team. And we had a pitcher who just couldn't throw a strike. And I think after about like 6 straight walks or something, Eric took the ball and fired it back out there as hard as he could, pelted the dude in the top of the head. It was a great moment.
Maybe that'll teach him to throw strikes, right?
Yeah. But in all seriousness, like the pitcher, by the way, his reaction, it's not like he was like, "Oh, my bad." He immediately turned his head and kind of looked pissed off about it. Like, that's what you get. Yeah. He was obvious it was intentional. That's a guy you got to kick off your team. Like, you can't have that.
That was bad. I think it was Framber Valdez, I believe. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, that's like scumbag human move. Yeah, you're just a bad guy at that point.
Correct. Because while that chest protector does help some, it doesn't help everything, especially if you catch a 92-mile-an-hour heater when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, if that thing hits you dead center in the chest, like where your heart is, it can cause real problem. I mean, there's been people that have been impacted like that. I mean, granted, the chest protector is made to prevent that, but it's still not ideal. And by the way, the whole thing started with the catcher, the pitch before, had told him to step off as his windup, and he gives up a home run on that pitch. So I guess
grand slam.
A grand slam, yes. So I guess in theory, he's pissed off that his catcher was telling him to step off or something. But like,
he's trying to help him.
Yeah, my guy, chill.
Exactly. All right. Appreciate the questions as always. We will be back next week with another edition of this fine podcast. For Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly Potpourri edition, presented by Blake, the Attorney Mason.